The classroom fell silent as Instructor Vixthal entered through the main door. Her crystalline exoskeleton caught the overhead lights and scattered them across the walls in rainbow patterns. The 20 students sitting in their various specialized seats stopped their conversations immediately. Some had seats filled with water. Others had floating platforms. A few needed seats that could hold their weight, which was much more than a typical human's. This was Xenogology 301 at the Galactic Concordance Academy. It was not a class for beginners. Every student here had already learned the basics about alien life forms. They had studied the theories. They had watched countless videos. But today was different. Today they would see a real predator from a real death world. Emma Chun sat in the third row. Her simple human chair-looking plane compared to the elaborate setups around her. She was the only human in the entire academy. Her species had just joined the Galactic Concordance 5 months ago. Most of the other students had never seen a human before Emma arrived. Some still stared at her during meals, fascinated by how she ate solid food with her teeth instead of absorbing nutrients through membranes or filters. Vixthal's voice came through the translation devices everyone wore. Today we will conduct a practical observation exercise. You will see a Class 7 predator from the planet Korthia Prime. This creature is called a razorling. A nervous shuffle went through the classroom. A student named Plix, who looked like a large purple insect, clicked his mandibles together anxiously. Instructor, are the safety protocols in place? Of course, Vixthal replied. She touched a panel on the wall and a large transparent barrier descended from the ceiling, separating the front of the classroom from the student area. We have force fields, tranquilizer drones, and emergency medical teams standing by outside. You are completely safe. Emma leaned back in her chair and watched with interest. She had read about Korthian razorlings in her study materials. The file said they were extremely dangerous. They had killed 15 trained handlers in the last standard cycle. They came from a planet with gravity twice as strong as most civilized worlds could tolerate. Their claws could extend and retract. Their teeth were like needles. Their reflexes were so fast that most species couldn't even track their movements. The file had included a warning in red text. Never approach without full combat armor and weapons. A large metal container was wheeled into the observation area by 2 security robots. The container had warning symbols all over it in dozens of languages. Emma could hear something inside scratching at the metal walls. The sound was sharp and persistent. Vixthal continued her lecture. The razorling is an apex predator. It evolved on a death world where survival required constant aggression. Notice the reinforced container. The walls are 6 inches of titanium alloy. The creature inside has already tried to break through 17 times during transport. Another student, a floating vapor being named Wisp, flickered nervously. How long will it be released? Only for 10 minutes, Vixthal assured everyone. Long enough for you to observe its threat displays, its hunting posture, and its attack preparation behaviors. This knowledge could save your life if you ever encounter dangerous fauna during fieldwork. The instructor touched another control. The container's door began to open with a slow hydraulic hiss. Every student tensed. Some gripped their desks. Others activated personal shield devices. Emma just watched calmly. She had her notebook ready and her pencil in hand. She was one of the few students who still used physical writing tools. Most others recorded everything digitally or through neural links. The door opened fully. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a shape burst from the container in a blur of motion. The razorling was about the size of a large earth dog, maybe 60 or 70 pounds. Its fur was mottled gray and black, perfect camouflage for a rocky environment. Its eyes were large and slitted like a cat's. Its ears were pointed and mobile, swiveling independently to track sounds. A long tail whipped behind it, the tip twitched back and forth. When it opened its mouth to hiss, Emma could see rows of sharp teeth designed for tearing meat. The creature pressed itself low to the ground. Its claws extended with an audible click. It hissed again, louder this time, and the sound made several students gasp. The hiss turned into a sharp, Repetitive vocalization that the translation software couldn't interpret. Vixthal pointed at the creature with one crystalline appendage. Noticed the aggressive posture, the extended claws, the threat vocalization. This creature is prepared to kill anything it perceives as prey or competition. Emma tilted her head slightly. She watched the razorling's ears. They were flattened back against its skull, but they kept twitching forward for just a moment before flattening again. She watched its tail. The movements were quick and erratic. She watched its eyes. They were dilated wide despite the bright classroom lights. She had seen all these behaviors before. Many times. In countless animals back on Earth, a small smile appeared on Emma's face. "Oh my God," she whispered to herself. "It's basically a cat." The student next to her, a Drelny with blue aquatic skin, heard her and turned in shock. "What did you say?" Emma looked at the Drelny and then back at the razorling. "I said it's like a cat. We have animals like this on Earth, well, smaller usually, but the behavior is almost identical." The Drelny stared at her as if she had said something insane. "That is a killer. It has murdered 15 trained professionals." "Sure, but look at its body language," Emma said, pointing with her pencil. "See how its ears keep trying to point forward? And the tail movement? That's not pure aggression. That's fear aggression. It's scared. It's a predator from a death world," the Drelny said slowly, as if explaining something to a child. "It does not feel fear." Emma shook her head. "Everything feels fear. Fear is one of the most basic survival instincts. The razorling is in a strange place with weird smells and creatures it's never seen before. It doesn't know what we are. It's trying to make itself look dangerous so we won't attack it." Vixthal was still lecturing about threat assessment when Emma raised her hand. The instructor paused. "Yes, Emma. Can I interact with it?" The classroom went completely silent. Even the razorling stopped hissing for a moment. 20 pairs of alien eyes turned to stare at the human girl in the third row. Vixthal's translator made a strange sound, like it was trying to process an error. "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" "I believe my translation software malfunctioned. I asked if I can interact with the razorling," Emma said clearly. "I think I can calm it down." A student in the back made a sound that the translator rendered as horrified laughter. Plix clicked his mandibles so rapidly it sounded like applause. The Drelny next to Emma moved her chair slightly away. Vixthal stared at Emma for a long moment. Her crystalline body shifted through several colors, which Emma had learned meant she was experiencing strong emotions. "Emma, that is a Class 7 predator. It is extremely dangerous. You are not wearing armor. You have no weapons. You cannot possibly be serious." "I am serious," Emma said. She stood up and walked toward the barrier. "Instructor, humans have been interacting with predators for thousands of years. I've been around animals like this my whole life. I know what I'm doing." "The creature will attack you," Vixthal said flatly. "I don't think it will," Emma replied. "Not if I approach correctly." The other students began talking all at once, their voices blending into a chaos of concerned clicks, whistles, and electronic tones. Vixthal raised one appendage for silence. "This is highly irregular," the instructor said. "But if you truly wish to demonstrate the foolishness of approaching a dangerous predator, I will allow it. Sign the liability forms." Emma read through the liability forms on the datapad. There were 17 pages of warnings. Words like death, dismemberment, and catastrophic injury appeared frequently. She signed each page without hesitation. The other students watched in stunned silence. Vixthal checked the signatures and then looked at Emma one more time. "I want to be absolutely clear. Once you enter that observation area, you will be alone with a creature that has killed multiple trained xenobiologists. Our security protocols allow us to tranquilize it if it attacks, but the response time is 3.2 seconds. That is more than enough time for it to inflict fatal wounds." "I understand," Emma said calmly. "Why would you take this risk?" Plix asked from his seat. "What could you possibly gain?" Emma thought about how to explain it. She knew these aliens didn't understand humans very well yet. Earth had only been discovered a few months ago. The Galactic Concordance was still trying to figure out how humans fit into their understanding of intelligent life. On my planet, Emma began, humans live alongside predators. We always have. We learn to read their body language, to understand their communication. I'm looking at that razorling and I'm seeing behaviors I recognize. I think I can help it feel safe. Help it? Wisp's translated voice sounded confused. It is a predator. You are prey-sized to it. Emma smiled. Maybe, but I'm also intelligent and I can communicate. Not with words, but with body language and tone. Animals are smarter than most people think. They can learn. They can understand intent. Vixthal made a sound that might have been a sigh. Very well. Security team, remain on high alert. Medical team, prepare for immediate intervention. Open the barrier door. A small door appeared in the transparent barrier. It was just big enough for Emma to walk through. She approached it slowly while the razorling watched from across the observation area. Its eyes tracked her movement. Its body remained low and tense. Emma stepped through the door. It closed behind her with a soft click. Now there was nothing between her and the predator except 20 feet of empty space. The razorling's pupils widened. Its ears went completely flat. It opened its mouth and hissed, displaying all of those needle-sharp teeth. The sound was loud and aggressive. Several students flinched behind the safety of the barrier. Emma didn't move closer. She didn't make any sudden movements. Instead, she did something that looked completely bizarre to everyone watching. She sat down on the floor, not in a defensive crouch, not in a ready-to-run position. She just sat down cross-legged like she was getting comfortable. She turned her body slightly to the side, not facing the razorling directly. Then she looked away from it, focusing on a point on the wall. What is she doing? The Drelny whispered. Vixthal was watching intently, her hand hovering over the emergency tranquilizer control. I have no idea. Emma sat quietly for almost a full minute. She didn't look at the razorling. She didn't speak. She just breathed slowly and stayed calm. Her heart was beating fast. She couldn't help that, but she kept her body language relaxed and non-threatening. The razorling's hissing gradually decreased. Its ears twitched forward for a moment, then flattened again. It took one cautious step forward, then stopped. Its nose was working, sniffing the air, trying to gather information about this strange creature that had entered its space. Emma slowly reached into her pocket. Every alien in the classroom tensed. Vixthal's hand moved closer to the emergency button. But Emma just pulled out a small piece of dried meat. She had brought it from the cafeteria earlier just in case. It was some kind of protein ration that tasted terrible to humans but might smell interesting to a predator. She tossed the meat gently toward the razorling. Not at it, which would be aggressive. Just near it. The meat landed about 5 feet away from the creature. The razorling jumped back when the meat hit the floor. It stared at the small piece of food suspiciously. Then it crept forward and sniffed it. After a moment, it grabbed the meat and ate it quickly, never taking its eyes off Emma. Emma made a soft clicking sound with her tongue. It was a gentle noise, non-threatening, the kind of sound someone might make to call a cat. She still didn't look directly at the razorling. Direct eye contact was threatening to most predators. The creature's ears swiveled forward fully for the first time. Its tail, which had been lashing aggressively, slowed to a gentle swaying motion. It took another step toward Emma, then another. It's going to attack, someone whispered behind the barrier, but it didn't attack. The razorling moved closer, its movements cautious but no longer aggressive. When it was about 3 feet away, it stopped and sat down. Its posture was still alert, but the tension had left its muscles. Emma slowly extended one hand, palm up, fingers relaxed. She didn't reach toward the creature. She just offered her hand, letting the razorling decide what to do. The creature watched her hand for a long moment. Then it leaned forward and sniffed her fingers. Its nose was wet and cold, just like a cat's. Emma held perfectly still. After what felt like an eternity, the razorling moved closer. It pressed its head against Emma's palm. Emma very gently scratched behind its ears. The creature's eyes half closed. A sound began to emanate from its chest. It was a deep, rumbling vibration that sounded remarkably like a purr. "That is not possible," Vixtel said quietly. "That sound is not in any of our behavioral data." Emma continued to scratch gently behind the razorling's ears and under its chin. The creature leaned into her touch. Its tail was now swaying slowly in what looked like contentment. After a few more minutes, the razorling did something that made every student gasp. It rolled onto its back, exposing its belly to Emma. "That is a vulnerable position," Plick said, his mandibles frozen in shock. "Predators never expose their vital organs unless they trust you," Emma finished. She gently rubbed the razorling's belly. The purring sound grew louder. Emma looked back at the class through the barrier. She was smiling. "See? Not so scary once you understand what it's trying to communicate." Vixtel slowly took her hand away from the emergency button. Her crystalline body was cycling through colors rapidly, a sign of extreme confusion. "I have been studying xenobiology for 30 standard cycles. I have never seen anything like this." Emma continued to pet the razorling, which was now completely relaxed. Its eyes were closed and it looked almost asleep. "This is pretty normal behavior for a scared animal once it realizes you're not a threat. Aggression takes a lot of energy. Most creatures would rather be calm if they can." "But it killed 15 handlers," the Drelny protested. "Probably because they came in with weapons and armor and treated it like a monster," Emma said. "That would make any creature defensive. But look at it now. It's just a living being that was frightened and alone." The rest of the class time was spent with Emma in the observation area, sitting peacefully with the razorling. She explained what each of its behaviors meant. She showed how its ears indicated mood. She demonstrated how its tail movements communicated different things. She pointed out the difference between play aggression and real aggression. By the end of the class, the razorling was lying with its head in Emma's lap, still purring. When it was time to put the creature back in its container, it didn't want to leave Emma. It followed her to the container entrance and only went inside when she gently encouraged it. As Emma stepped back through the barrier door, the entire class erupted in questions. Everyone was talking at once, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Vixtel held up one appendage for silence. When the room quieted, she looked at Emma with something that might have been respect. "That was the most remarkable thing I have ever seen in my career. And also the most foolish. You took an enormous risk." Emma shrugged. "I knew what I was doing. Humans are good at reading predators." "Apparently," Vixtel said dryly. Class dismissed. "Emma, please remain. We need to discuss this further." As the other students filed out, they all stared at Emma with new expressions. Fear had been replaced by fascination. The human girl who had seemed so ordinary was suddenly very interesting indeed. The video of Emma with the razorling spread through the Academy network within hours. By the next morning, it had reached the broader Galactic Concordance database. Within 3 days, Emma received 47 requests for interviews and presentations from various scientific institutions. She sat in a conference room now, facing 12 of the most respected xenobiology professors in known space. They had joined via hologram from their respective planets. Their images flickered slightly as the translation systems worked to convert their speech into something Emma could understand. Dr. Thexmiran, the head of xenobiology for the entire concordance, spoke first. He was a tall being covered in dark blue fur with 4 arms and eyes that glowed faintly yellow. "Miss Chun, we have watched your interaction with the Korthian razorling repeatedly. We have analyzed every moment. We still cannot understand how you survived, let alone achieved what appeared to be a bonding behavior." Emma had prepared for this. She had spent the last 2 nights putting together a presentation about human-animal relationships. She pulled up her first slide on the holographic display. The image showed a Volf. It was a large one, with thick gray fur and piercing yellow eyes. Its teeth were visible and sharp. "This is a Volf?" Emma began. "It's an apex predator from Earth. Wolves hunt in packs. They can take down prey much larger than themselves. They're fast, intelligent, and dangerous. About 15,000 years ago, humans and wolves were competitors. We hunted the same animals. We lived in the same territories. She clicked to the next slide. This one showed a modern dog, a golden retriever sitting peacefully next to a human child. The dog's mouth was open in what looked like a smile. This is a dog, Emma continued. Dogs are descended from wolves. Humans domesticated them. We took one of the most dangerous predators on our planet and turned them into companions. Now there are hundreds of millions of dogs living with humans. They sleep in our beds. They play with our children. We trust them completely. The professors exchanged glances. One of them, a crystalline being similar to Vixthal, spoke up. But the domestication process must have taken enormous effort. Selective breeding over thousands of generations. Genetic modification. Some selective breeding, yes, Emma agreed. But no genetic modification. It was mostly about mutual benefit and understanding. Wolves got reliable food and protection. Humans got help with hunting and security. Over time, the partnership became friendship. She clicked to another slide. This one showed a house cat sitting on a windowsill, looking regal and calm. This is a cat. Humans didn't really domesticate cats the way we did dogs. Cats domesticated themselves. About 10,000 years ago, when humans started farming and storing grain, mice came to eat the grain. Cats came to eat the mice. Humans realized the cats were useful, so we let them stay. Eventually, we started inviting them into our homes. But cats are obligate carnivores, another professor said. They are hunters. Yes, Emma said. They still are. My cat back home brings me dead mice sometimes. She's proud of her kills and wants to share them with me. I find it endearing. Several professors made sounds of confusion and distress through their translators. Emma clicked through more slides. Each one showed a different animal that humans kept as pets or work animals. Horses, birds, rabbits, ferrets, even snakes and spiders. Humans don't just keep domesticated animals, she explained. We also keep wild predators. Some people have pet snakes that could kill them with venom. Others keep large lizards with powerful jaws. There are humans who work with bears, lions, and crocodiles. This is madness, one professor said quietly. Maybe, Emma acknowledged. But it works for us? We understand something important about predators. They're not mindless killing machines. They're intelligent creatures with their own personalities, fears, and desires. If you take time to understand them, most predators would rather avoid conflict than fight. Dr. Vexmiran leaned forward in his hologram. But why? Why would humans take these risks? What do you gain from keeping dangerous animals? Emma smiled. She had been waiting for this question. She clicked to a new slide. This one showed a compilation of images, a child hugging a large dog, an elderly person holding a cat, a family posing with their pet parrot. They make us happy, Emma said simply. Humans form emotional bonds with animals. We love them. They love us back. It's not logical or strategic. It's emotional. We need companionship, and we found it in the other creatures of our world. She clicked to another slide. This one had text explaining the human concept of cute. Humans have what we call a cuteness response when we see certain features like big eyes. Small size or soft fur, our brains release chemicals that make us feel protective and affectionate. Originally, this evolved to make us care for our own babies, but humans apply this response to almost anything. We think baby animals are cute. We think some predators are cute. Some humans even think insects and reptiles are cute. One professor, a floating jellyfish-like being, pulsed with bioluminescence. So you risk your life because you find these creatures cute? Sometimes, Emma admitted. But it's more than that. We respect these animals. We understand that they have just as much right to exist as we do. Earth is full of dangerous creatures. If humans killed everything that was dangerous, we'd be alone. Instead, we learn to coexist. We learn to communicate across species barriers. That made us stronger. She pulled up her final slide. It was a picture of Earth taken from space, showing the blue oceans and green continents. Earth is classified as a death world by concordance standards, Emma said. Gravity is high. Temperature swings are extreme. There are predators everywhere. Natural disasters are common. Diseases are plentiful. But humans didn't just survive Earth, we thrived. And we didn't do it alone. We did it by making friends with the other creatures who live there. Dr. Thexmiran was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Your species is remarkable and terrifying. You are persistence predators who evolved to befriend other predators. You come from a world that should have killed you, but instead it taught you to bond with anything that moves." "I guess that's one way to look at it," Emma said. "There is concern," another professor said carefully, "about what this means for galactic security. Many species maintain control of certain planets because the fauna is too dangerous. If humans can neutralize that danger through ... friendship, it changes the balance of power." Emma had expected this too. "I understand your concern. But humans don't want to take anyone's planets. We just want to understand the universe we live in. If we can help make dangerous creatures less dangerous through peaceful interaction, isn't that better than killing them?" The professors discussed this among themselves for several minutes. Their various languages created a strange symphony through the translation systems. Finally, Dr. Thexmiran spoke again. "We would like to test your abilities further. We have several creatures here at the research facility that have proven impossible to work with. They are too aggressive, too unpredictable. Would you be willing to attempt interaction with them?" "Of course," Emma said. "That's why I'm here. To learn and to help." "Excellent. We will arrange the tests. But Miss Chen, I must ask, you have been visiting the Razorling every day since your initial contact? What has happened with that creature?" Emma's smile widened. "Oh, Muffin? She's doing great. She waits by the barrier for me every afternoon. Yesterday I taught her to give me her paw when I hold out my hand. She's really smart once you take time to understand her." "You named it Muffin?" The professor's translator struggled with the word. "Yes, she's sweet, so I gave her a sweet name." The professors looked at each other in their various alien ways. One of them made a sound that the translator rendered as nervous laughter. "Humans," Dr. Thexmiran said, shaking his head slowly, "are going to change everything." After the meeting ended, Emma walked back to her dormitory. She passed other students in the hallways. Many of them nodded or waved at her now. The strange human girl had become something of a celebrity. Her communication device buzzed. It was a message from her roommate back on Earth, a girl named Sarah, who had always wanted to join the space program but hadn't been selected for the academy yet. "Saw your video. You're famous. Also, Mom wants to know if you've tried talking to any of those jellyfish things from Sector 9. Dad thinks they're probably like moon jellies and might be friendly." Emma laughed and typed back, "Not yet, but I'll look into it. Miss you guys. Tell Mom and Dad I'm fine and I haven't been eaten by any aliens yet." She sent the message and continued to her room. Tomorrow she would meet with more dangerous creatures. She would show the Concordance what humans could do. Not through violence or technology, but through understanding and compassion. It was going to be interesting. The research facility was located 3 levels below the main academy. Emma had never been this deep before. The air felt different here, more controlled and sterile. She walked beside Dr. Thexmiran through corridors lined with containment cells. Each cell held a creature that the Concordance had classified as too dangerous for normal study. "We have tried everything with these specimens," Dr. Thexmiran explained as they walked. "Sedation, behavioral conditioning, technological barriers. Nothing has worked. They remain aggressive and unmanageable. If you cannot interact with them safely, we may have to terminate them." Emma felt a pang of sadness at that. "How many creatures are we talking about?" 17 total. But we will start with 3. If you succeed with these, we will continue. If not..." He trailed off. They stopped at the first containment cell. Through the transparent wall, Emma could see a creature about the size of a large dog. It was covered in thick, quill-like spines that ranged from silver to deep purple. Its body was low and compact, built for digging. 8 legs, each ending in powerful claws, scratched at the ground constantly. "This is a Scrix tunneler," Dr. Thexmiron said. "It comes from a high-gravity underground world. The spines are venomous. Not fatal to most species, but extremely painful. It has injured 6 handlers. The venom causes temporary paralysis." Emma watched the creature carefully. It was pacing back and forth along the far wall of its enclosure, which was mostly bare except for some rocky substrate. "How long has it been in captivity?" 4 months. "And what has it been fed?" Dr. Thexmiron consulted his data pad. "Standard protein rations. Adequate nutrition. But not what it would eat in the wild," Emma observed. "Can you tell me about its natural habitat?" "Underground tunnel systems. It eats mostly insects and small burrowing creatures. Lives in colonies of 20 to 30 individuals." Emma nodded slowly. "So, it's a social creature that's been kept alone in a bare enclosure with boring food. No wonder it's aggressive. It's probably depressed and stressed." "Depressed?" Dr. Thexmiron repeated. "It is an animal." "Animals have emotions," Emma said gently. "Maybe not exactly like ours, but they feel stress, fear, boredom, loneliness. This tunneler is showing all the signs." She requested several things: live insects from the facility's breeding program, some materials to create hiding spots and tunnels, and permission to enter the enclosure. Dr. Thexmiron was hesitant, but agreed. The security protocols were activated. Emma entered the enclosure slowly. The tunneler immediately went into a defensive posture, its spine standing upright. Emma didn't approach. Instead, she sat down and began arranging some of the materials she'd brought. She created a small hide using rocks and fabric, something that looked like a tunnel entrance. The tunneler watched suspiciously, but didn't attack. Emma placed some live insects near the hide and then moved away, giving the creature space. She sat quietly and waited. After 10 minutes, the tunneler's curiosity overcame its fear. It crept forward and investigated the hide. Finding it satisfactory, it went inside. A moment later, it emerged to grab some of the insects. It ate them quickly, and Emma could see its body language change immediately. Real food, not boring rations. Over the next hour, Emma slowly gained the creature's trust. She moved carefully, never making sudden gestures. She provided more insects. She created more hiding spots. Eventually, the tunneler allowed her to come close. When Emma very gently touched one of the spines, the creature didn't attack. Instead, it made a soft clicking sound that seemed pleased. By the end of the session, Emma noticed something. One of the spines on the tunneler's back was bent at an odd angle and looked infected. "It can't reach that to clean it," she said. "That's probably causing pain." With Dr. Thexmiron's guidance, Emma carefully removed the damaged spine. The tunneler held still during the process, seeming to understand that she was helping. When the spine was removed, the creature made that clicking sound again, louder this time. Dr. Thexmiron was amazed. "In 4 months, we could not get close enough to provide medical care. You accomplished it in under 2 hours." Emma exited the enclosure and moved to the next cell. This one held 3 creatures that looked like a cross between a wolf and a lizard. They were sleek and muscular, with scales instead of fur and long snouts full of sharp teeth. Their eyes were golden and intelligent. "Thraxian stalkers," Dr. Thexmiron said. "Pack hunters. Extremely coordinated. They have attacked as a group every time anyone enters their space. We cannot separate them because they become even more violent when alone." Emma watched how the 3 creatures interacted. There was a clear hierarchy. One was larger and moved with more confidence. The other 2 deferred to it, waiting for it to eat first during feedings, following its lead when exploring the enclosure. "They're looking for leadership," Emma said. "In their natural pack, there would be an alpha. Without one, they're unstable." She asked about their feeding schedule and behavior patterns. Then she requested raw meat, not processed rations. When she entered the enclosure, all three stalkers immediately focused on her. They began to circle, working together to surround her. Emma didn't show fear. She stood tall and made herself look larger. When the alpha stalker approached, Emma made direct eye contact and held it. This was different from the razorling. These were pack hunters, and pack hunters responded to confidence and strength. The alpha stopped. It stared at Emma, trying to determine her place in the hierarchy. Emma didn't back down. She stood her ground, calm but assertive. After a long moment, the alpha lowered its gaze slightly. Not a full submission, but an acknowledgement. Emma began establishing herself through feeding. She held the meat and made the stalkers wait. The alpha tried to grab it immediately, but Emma pulled it back and made a sharp sound. The stalker stopped. Emma waited until all three were sitting calmly, then she gave the meat to the alpha first, as was proper in pack hierarchy. Then she fed the other two in order of their rank. Over the next several days, Emma worked with the stalkers regularly. She taught them commands using gestures and sounds, sit, stay, come the intelligent creatures. Learned quickly once they understood that Emma was the leader of their pack. They began following her commands reliably. The third creature was perhaps the most challenging. It was a Quellan storm screamer, an aerial predator that looked like a cross between a bat and an eagle, but the size of a human. Its wingspan was enormous. Its talons were like curved knives. And it had a sonic attack that could rupture eardrums at close range. The creature was housed in a tall, cylindrical enclosure. It spent most of its time clinging to the ceiling, occasionally diving down to attack the feeding mechanisms. It had broken 3 robotic feeders. Emma studied its behavior for hours before attempting contact. She noticed that the storm screamer made certain calls repeatedly. When she researched the species, she learned they were highly social birds that lived in flocks of hundreds. The calls it was making were distress signals. "It's lonely," Emma told Dr. Thexmiron. "It's calling for its flock, but no one is answering." She couldn't bring the creature a whole flock, but she could provide enrichment. She brought in mirrors which the storm screamer could see as another bird. She played recordings of storm screamer calls. She introduced moving toys that could simulate flying companions. The change was dramatic. The creature became less aggressive almost immediately. When Emma entered its enclosure wearing protective ear coverings, the storm screamer didn't attack. Instead, it performed elaborate aerial displays, showing off its flying abilities. Emma recognized this as a bonding behavior. Within 2 weeks, the storm screamer would land on Emma's outstretched arm. It was gentle with its talons, careful not to hurt her. It would preen her hair with its beak, treating her like a flock member. Dr. Thexmiron observed all of this with growing astonishment. "You have succeeded with every creature we presented to you. Species that we considered impossible to manage are now docile. Some even seem happy." "They were never impossible," Emma said. "They were just misunderstood. Each species has its own needs, its own communication style. You have to learn their language." News of Emma's success spread even faster than the first video. Xenobiology departments across the Concordance began requesting her consultation. Some wanted her to travel to their facilities. Others sent videos of their problem animals asking for advice, but not everyone was pleased. In a private meeting that Emma wasn't invited to, several Concordance officials expressed concern. "The human has demonstrated abilities that could be strategically significant," one official argued. "Many worlds remain uncolonized specifically because their predator populations are unmanageable. If humans can manage these populations through peaceful means, it changes territorial negotiations. We cannot suppress scientific progress because of political concerns," another official countered. "The human is showing us new approaches to xenobiology. This is valuable knowledge. Knowledge that could destabilize the current power structure." The first official insisted. The debate continued, but meanwhile Emma continued her work. She visited Muffin the razorling every day. She checked on the tunneler's healing spine. She trained with the stalkers. She spent time with the Storm Dash Screamer. Other students began asking her for advice about their own research. 3 months after Emma's first interaction with the Razorling, the Galactic Concordance Academy hosted its annual summit. Representatives from 50-member species gathered to discuss expansion policies, scientific discoveries, and diplomatic initiatives. The grand hall was filled with beings of every imaginable shape and size, all wearing translation devices and ceremonial garments from their homeworlds. Emma attended as a student observer, sitting in the upper gallery with other Academy students. She wore her formal Academy uniform and tried to pay attention to the speeches. Though many of them were about trade, agreements, and territorial boundaries that she didn't fully understand yet, the morning sessions were uneventful. But after lunch, the schedule included a special presentation on the proposed colonization of Keth 7. This was the planet Vixthal had mentioned, the one with dangerous megafauna. Emma leaned forward, interested to hear what they had learned. A senior xenobiologist named Dr. Krell-10 gave the presentation. He was a tall, thin being with gray skin and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on his face. His voice was dry and academic as he explained the challenges. Keth 7 possesses significant deposits of rare minerals essential for advanced technology, he said. However, the planet's apex predator population has made colonization impossible. These creatures, which we call Keth bears for simplicity, are highly aggressive and territorial. They attack any settlement within their range. We have attempted deterrence, barriers, and even culling operations, but the population is too large and too widespread. He displayed a hologram of a Keth bear. Emma studied it carefully. The creature was massive, easily 10 feet tall when standing upright. It had thick, armored hide that looked like overlapping plates. 4 eyes gave it excellent vision. Its jaw was powerful, as she could see multiple rows of teeth. Most notably, it had what looked like acid glands near its mouth. The recommended course of action, Dr. Krell-10 continued, is orbital bombardment of the primary predator zones followed by atmospheric seeding with chemical deterrents. This would reduce the population by approximately 70% and make the remaining creatures avoid colonized areas. Emma felt her stomach turn. They were talking about killing thousands of creatures just because they were inconvenient. She wanted to speak up, but this wasn't a classroom. She was just a student observer. To conclude the presentation, Dr. Krell-10 said, we have arranged a demonstration with a juvenile Keth bear specimen. Security, please bring in the containment unit. Emma sat up straight. They had brought one here? To a diplomatic summit? The containment unit was even larger than the one that had held the Razorling. It took 6 security robots to wheel it into the demonstration area at the front of the hall. The unit was heavily reinforced, and Emma could hear something large moving inside it. The specimen will be released into a reinforced observation arena, Dr. Krell-10 explained. This will allow delegates to observe the creature's aggressive nature firsthand. Please note the security measures in place. Force fields activated around the demonstration area, creating a cage of energy. Armed security personnel took positions around the perimeter. Medical teams stood ready. The containment unit's door began to open. What happened next occurred so quickly that most beings didn't understand it until it was over. Later analysis from security footage would show the exact sequence of events. But in the moment, it was chaos. The Keth bear emerged from the container and immediately panicked. The bright lights, the crowd of strange creatures, the overwhelming noise of hundreds of beings all alarmed it. It roared, a sound that shook the hall, and charged at the nearest force field. The field held for approximately 3 seconds. Then it sparked and failed. Later investigation would reveal sabotage. Someone had tampered with the field generators, though who and why remained unclear. Some suspected political rivals trying to disrupt the summit. Others thought it was an attempt to embarrass the colonization committee. The motive didn't matter in the moment. The Keth bear was loose in the grand hall with hundreds of delegates. Panic erupted instantly. Beings scrambled in every direction. The aerial species took flight. Aquatic species tried to reach their water tanks. Security forces drew weapons but couldn't fire into the crowd without hitting delegates. The Keth bear, confused and frightened, charged toward the nearest group. It was a delegation of young Drelny students who had been invited to observe the summit as an educational experience. The Drelny were aquatic and moved slowly on land. They couldn't escape. Emma didn't think. She just moved. She vaulted over the gallery railing and dropped to the main floor, a fall of about 15 feet that made her knees scream in protest when she landed. But she was up and running before anyone could stop her. She placed herself directly between the charging Keth Bear and the Drelny students. The creature was massive, much larger than anything she'd worked with before. Its 4 eyes fixed on her. Its mouth opened, showing those multiple rows of teeth. Acid dripped from its jaws and sizzled when it hit the floor. Every instinct screamed at Emma to run. This was a genuine apex predator, not a captive animal. It was frightened and angry. It could kill her in seconds, but the Drelny students behind her couldn't run. If she moved, they would die. Emma held her ground. She spread her arms slightly, making herself look larger. And then she did something that seemed insane to every being watching. She spoke to it. Her voice was low and calm, completely at odds with the chaos around them. Hey, it's okay. You're okay. The Keth Bear didn't slow down. It was 3 steps away. 2 steps. Nobody's going to hurt you, Emma continued in that same calm tone. You're safe. I promise you're safe. 1 step away, the creature's front claws were raised, ready to strike. Emma could smell the acid, could feel the heat of its breath. She kept her eyes slightly averted, not challenging, but not showing fear either. The Keth Bear stopped. Its claws were inches from Emma's face. It made a sound, a rumbling growl that started deep in its chest. But it didn't attack. Emma took a slow breath. Good, that's good. You're a good bear. She slowly crouched down, making herself smaller and less threatening. She was now eye level with the creature's chest. You're lost, aren't you? This place is scary. Too many strange things. I understand. I'm scared too. The Keth Bear's growling decreased in volume. Its 4 eyes studied Emma with obvious intelligence. One of its front paws lowered slightly. That's right, Emma said softly. We're both just trying to stay safe. Neither of us wants to fight. She very slowly extended one hand, palm up, just like she had with the razorling months ago. Her hand was shaking. She couldn't help that. But she kept it steady enough. The Keth Bear lowered its head. Its nostrils flared as it sniffed Emma's hand. Its hot breath washed over her skin. The acid smell was overwhelming. Then, in a movement so gentle it seemed impossible from such a large predator, the Keth Bear pressed its massive head against Emma's palm. The hall was completely silent. Hundreds of beings held their breath. Security forces kept their weapons trained but didn't fire. Emma gently placed her other hand on the creature's head between its upper pair of eyes. You're okay, she whispered. Everything's okay now. The Keth Bear made a different sound, softer and almost sad. It pressed closer to Emma like a frightened child seeking comfort. She carefully stroked its armored hide, finding the softer spots between the plates. Security, she called out, never taking her attention from the creature. I need you to clear a path to the containment unit. Nice and quiet. No sudden movements. Security personnel slowly moved to comply. The Keth Bear watched them warily, but didn't become aggressive again. Emma began walking backwards slowly, keeping her hand on the creature's head. The Keth Bear followed her, step by step, trusting her guidance. It took 10 minutes to lead the creature back to its container. Emma spoke to it the entire time, her voice calm and reassuring. When they reached the container, the Keth Bear hesitated. It didn't want to go back inside. I know, Emma said gently. I'm sorry, but it's safe in there. And I promise someone will take you home soon. Back to your forest. Would you like that? The creature looked at her with those 4 intelligent eyes. Then it ducked its head and entered the container voluntarily. As the door closed, it made that soft, sad sound again. Emma's legs suddenly felt weak. The adrenaline was wearing off, and the reality of what she'd just done hit her. She sat down hard on the floor, shaking. Medical teams rushed to check on her. The Drelny students she'd saved crowded around, thanking her in a dozen overlapping voices. Security personnel formed a protective circle. Everyone was talking at once. Through the chaos, Emma saw Vixthal pushing through the crowd. The instructor's crystalline body was cycling through colors so rapidly it was almost blinding. She knelt beside Emma. "That was the bravest and most foolish thing I have ever witnessed," Vixthal said. Her voice was shaking. "You could have died." "The students would have died," Emma replied. She was still shaking. "I couldn't let that happen. You didn't know the creature would respond to you." Emma met her teacher's eyes. "I knew it was frightened. I knew it didn't want to fight. Fighting is expensive for predators. They avoid it if they can. I just had to give it another option." Dr. Krelton appeared, his 3 eyes wide with shock.